Welcome to Zvia Weight Loss and Medspa. You know that moment when you catch your reflection and something just doesn't feel quite right? Maybe it's that crease between your brows that makes you look frustrated when you're actually feeling perfectly relaxed. Or maybe it's those forehead lines that just seem to get a little deeper every year. It could even be those vertical bands forming along your neck that you swear you never used to notice. And look, it's not about vanity. It's about that disconnect between how you feel on the inside and what you see looking back at you in the mirror. And if you've thought about doing something about it, you are definitely not alone. But here's the great news. Those lines aren't a problem with your skin itself. They're actually caused by specific muscles contracting over and over again. And that's where Xeomin, that's pronounced Z-E-O-M, comes in. It's a uniquely purified neurotoxin injectable that precisely targets those exact muscles, working with remarkable precision to soften the lines they create. So let's dive into the science of how those lines actually form, because it's pretty fascinating. Every single facial expression you make, whether it's a smile or a frown, requires a signal to travel from a nerve to a muscle. Right, and this all happens at a tiny, microscopic point called the neuromuscular junction. Think of it as a communication hub. Here, your nerve endings release a chemical messenger called acetylcholine. But for that to happen, a very specific protein called SNAP25 has to be there and ready to go. Exactly. So, fast forward through decades of life, all those frowns, all those squints in the sun, all those surprised expressions, each one is a little contraction that creases the skin right above it. And eventually, those creases decide to stick around, even when your face is completely relaxed. The very same thing happens in the neck, where a muscle called the platysma can create those distinct vertical bands as we age.
Okay, so the crucial question is, how can we address this? Well, what Xeomin does is incredibly precise. It works right down at the molecular level by targeting that communication process we were just talking about.
So here's how it works, step by step. The active molecule in Xeomin gets inside the nerve terminal. Once it's in there, it selectively finds and snips that SNAP25 protein. And without a working SNAP25, the nerve just can't release its messenger, acetylcholine. So the muscle doesn't get the signal to contract anymore. It simply relaxes. And I want to stress that. It's relaxed, not paralyzed. And as a result, the lines it was creating soften beautifully. And this effect isn't permanent, is it? That's right, it's completely reversible. Over the next 3 to 4 months, your nerve terminals naturally regenerate new SNAP25 protein. Your full muscle activity gradually comes back. And you know, that built-in reversibility is actually one of the treatment's most important safety features. Okay, now this is where Xeomin gets really interesting. Its formulation is totally unique. Can you break down what makes it so different? I'd love to. So in nature, botulinumtoxin exists as this big, heavy complex surrounded by a bunch of unnecessary accessory proteins. These proteins have absolutely no therapeutic purpose. The makers of Xeomin developed this really unique process that basically strips all of that extra stuff away, delivering only the pure, active 150 kilodalton neurotoxin. And that's the key difference. That's why it's called the naked neurotoxin, because it's just the pure active ingredient with nothing extra. And that purity really, really matters from a clinical standpoint. You see, those unnecessary proteins that have been removed could potentially stimulate your immune system over time. Right. This means with other formulations, there's a higher potential risk of your body developing something called neutralizing antibodies, which could make your treatments less effective down the road. But get this. In long-term clinical trials of patients treated only with Xeomin, they found 0 neutralizing antibodies. This is all about supporting consistent, effective results for years to come. Okay, let's switch gears from the science to the actual patient experience. What can someone really expect after their treatment at Zvia? Well, the results appear really gradually and gracefully. In that first week, most people start to notice the first smoothing effects between days 3 and 5. Then, by weeks 2 to 4, you'll start to see that peak transformation with the maximum softening typically showing up around day 30. From there, you just get to enjoy your sustained results for the next couple of months. And the data on this is just so impressive. I mean, look at this chart. It shows the responder rate from clinical studies. At day 30, which is that peak effect moment, a really remarkable 93.1% of patients showed significant improvement as assessed by their provider. That's just fantastic. Now, let's talk about this Zvia approach, because the treatment itself is one part of the equation, but it really exists within a bigger picture of your lifestyle and creating overall harmony. Absolutely. So, what can you do to amplify and extend these beautiful results? Well, sun protection is number 1. I can't say it enough. A consistent SPF of 30 or higher is the single most important thing you can do.
After that, nutrition is key. You want antioxidant-rich foods and enough protein to help support your skin's collagen. And finally, getting quality sleep and managing your stress can actually reduce the background muscle tension that contributes to those lines in the first place. And speaking of comprehensive results, this is a huge milestone. As of July 2024, Xeomin officially became the first and only neurotoxin in the US to be FDA-approved for treating all 3 upper facial areas at the same time. That's the frown lines, forehead lines, and crow's feet. It is an absolute game changer for achieving a harmonious, balanced result.
And this is really where your provider's expertise is just absolutely critical. Your Zvia provider doesn't just look at a line. They evaluate your specific muscular anatomy, the size, the strength, the symmetry of your muscles, and how they all interact when you make different expressions. There's thinking about the entire system to make sure you get a natural, harmonious result.
That's it, right there. That comprehensive, anatomical way of thinking is what truly separates a precision treatment at Zvia from a one-size-fits-all, cookie-cutter approach. So, if what we've talked about today really resonates with you, if you're seeing those lines in the mirror that just don't quite match how young and vibrant you feel on the inside, the next step is really simple. It's just a conversation with your Zvia provider.
Exactly. They'll listen to your goals, they'll evaluate your unique anatomy, and they'll design a treatment plan that works for your face, not for someone else's. That is the very definition of precision, and it's what the entire team at Zvia is completely dedicated to delivering.
You can visit www.zvia.com, that's zvia.com, or you can call 303-902-5353 to schedule your consultation with the Zvia team today. And please remember, this has been for educational purposes. Your Zvia provider will work with you to determine if this protocol is the right choice for your individual needs.